Hi, I'm Pillot, and this week I'm reviewing Mom and Dad. Mom and Dad was written and directed by Brian Taylor, who is one half of the directing duo Neville Dean Taylor, who were responsible for films such as Crank and Crank 2: High Voltage. Not only does this film have Nicolas Cage doing Nicolas Cage things, the plot of this film revolves around some mysterious force that causes moms and dads all over the world to kill their children. Yes, I told you, this film is great. Now, this film had a lot in it, and it's not traditionally a film that I would actually see. But once I saw who had directed it, and once I saw that it had Nicolas Cage in it, I was there. And I've got no regrets. Nicolas Cage does the full-on hokey pokey in this movie. He cries in one scene, he laughs like a maniac in another. The only thing I think he doesn't do in this thing is dance, and I'm pretty sure that they were this close to letting him do it. This film was great, and I cannot say it enough. There was only two things that I thought were issues for me for this film. First and foremost, the film starts, and it's got great pacing. It lets you know what's happening from the very beginning. It introduces the characters. It's like quick speed. Then I would say like 20 minutes into the film, it kind of halts. Not like a full halt, but I think they try to inject too much character development into it, even though we kind of know where the film is going. So I would say there's about 10-15 minutes in the film where it's kind of at a small standstill before we get to see the main event, which is Nicolas Cage and Selma Blair. I don't know if I mentioned that she's also in it, and we'll get to her in a second. Before we get to see them do what we came to do, be mom and dad, in the most violent way possible. The second thing for me that I thought was an issue was that we're taught that this force is what's driving the parents to kill each of their own kids. And there isn't more explanation than that. There are certain suggestions as to what might be causing these effects, and there's a little bit of an attempt at exposition, but we're never really sure why these people are doing what they're doing. And I wasn't really sure why parents targeted their own kids. See, I going into the film, I thought that it would be adults would just want to kill children. But then watching it, it kind of made sense why it's called Mom and Dad, because the parents go after their own children. But we don't really ever know why. But nevertheless, this film is still pretty darn entertaining. Now, I want to go back to Selma Blair. Selma Blair, you know, if you had sat me down a few months ago and said, name an actress who you think might be able to hold her own against Nicolas Cage, there would be nobody on that list, because Nicolas Cage is Nicolas Cage, and no one can hold their own against Nicolas Cage nowadays. Selma Blair, surprisingly, she earned a trophy. Selma Blair, surprisingly, has those chops, and she acts wonderfully against Nicolas Cage's character. And for a majority of the film, she holds her own. Before she takes a turn and actually starts to go after her kids, a pretty decent part of the film is surrounding her character, and we learn a little bit about who she is, and we kind of start to feel for her as a mother, actually. So I honestly think she's one of the highlights of this film, in addition to, of course, Nick Cage. This film does not try to be anything that it's not. This film is crazy from beginning to end. To the very end, especially. I enjoy this film so much because it's not often that you actually see a movie that is just, you know, mind-numbing entertainment that you don't really have to think too much about, that you can just simply enjoy for what it is at face value. That's what I like about this movie, that it's not trying to be some allegory for what's going on in the world today. It's just these like I said, this force that is drawing these parents to want to kill their own kids. And it's the story of the kids of Selma Blair and Nicolas Cage, as I said, just trying to survive. And I loved it. And for that, I'm going to give this movie 3 stars.
Interesting choice of words.
This film is in select theaters now, but you can still find it on video on demand. That's where I found it. And like I said, well worth the price of admission for Nicolas Cage alone. Guys, I want to thank you for tuning in yet again. I appreciate all the feedback I've been getting on these videos. If you like what you saw and you want more, hit the like button and subscribe. Until next time, my name is Pillot. Take care.